Breaking Mzansi Insider reports. Police have carried out another wave of coordinated raids targeting properties linked to South African businessman Calvin Mathibeli as part of an ongoing tender fraud investigation. Authorities confirmed that multiple properties across 4 provinces were searched after warrants were issued in connection with a case registered in Johannesburg. The operation is believed to be part of a broader effort to gather evidence tied to alleged irregularities in government tenders. Investigators reportedly seized documents and other materials during the raids, which could be crucial in uncovering how contracts were awarded and whether any unlawful financial dealings took place. The case has drawn significant attention due to Mathibelis' profile as a businessman linked to large-scale tenders. While law enforcement agencies have not yet disclosed full details, sources indicate the investigation centers on suspected corruption, including possible manipulation of tender processes and the movement of money between involved parties. This is not the first time Mathibelis' properties have been targeted, suggesting that authorities are intensifying their probe and building a stronger case. No official confirmation of arrests has been made so far, but the repeated raids signal that the investigation is far from over. The latest raids on properties linked to Calvin Mathibeli signal a deepening crisis for the businessman, as investigators widen the scope of the tender fraud probe. Authorities are now believed to be tracing financial flows, examining bank records, and identifying possible collaborators who may have benefited from irregularly awarded contracts. Sources close to the investigation suggest that this is no longer just about isolated incidents, but rather a potential network of coordinated corruption involving multiple entities. Law enforcement agencies are focusing on how tenders were secured, whether due processes were bypassed, and if any officials were influenced or bribed in the process. What stands out in this phase of the investigation is the multi-province nature of the raids, indicating that the alleged scheme could stretch across different regions and departments. This has raised concerns that the impact of the suspected fraud may be far greater than initially thought. There are also indications that forensic teams are analyzing seized electronic devices, looking for communication records, contracts, and payment trails that could link key players together. If substantial evidence is uncovered, it could pave the way for high-profile arrests and court proceedings in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, the case is drawing public attention, with growing calls for accountability and transparency. Many South Africans see this as a critical test of the government's commitment to fighting corruption, especially in the awarding of public tenders, an area long plagued by controversy. As the investigation tightens around Calvin Mathibeli, attention is now shifting toward the legal consequences that could follow if sufficient evidence is secured. Prosecutors are expected to work closely with investigators to determine whether the material seized during the raids can support charges such as fraud, corruption, and money laundering. Legal experts suggest that if a strong case is built, the matter could evolve into a high-profile court battle, potentially involving not only business figures but also public officials who may have played a role in the alleged tender irregularities. This raises the stakes significantly, as it could expose deeper systemic issues within procurement processes. There is also growing speculation that more individuals could be summoned or questioned, especially those linked to companies that benefited from the tenders under scrutiny. Authorities may begin issuing subpoenas, freezing accounts, or placing restrictions on assets if they suspect illicit financial activity. Beyond the courtroom, the case is already having a broader impact. It is reigniting debate around government accountability, procurement reforms, and the need for stricter oversight in how public funds are allocated. Civil society groups and anti-corruption activists are expected to push for transparency as the case unfolds. For now, Calvin Mathibeli remains at the center of the storm, with the repeated raids suggesting that investigators are determined to leave no stone unturned. Whether this leads to arrests or a landmark corruption case will depend on what the evidence ultimately reveals, but one thing is clear: this investigation could become a defining moment in the ongoing fight against tender fraud.